everyone. So I would like to have our AES Interim Director, Bert Blum, to give a few welcome words to everybody, and to Bert.
Howdy, everybody. I will say happy to be here first and foremost. Probably the last person who should be doing the welcoming. I do want to say thank you to all of you here. Tremendous shout out to Sam, Angie, everybody that made this happen. So again, I'm coming in on the tail end, and so acknowledging that piece. But in terms of a turnout, this is pretty incredible, and a really testament to Bert. As Sam had said, my name is Bert Blum. I'm the interim director for the Arizona Experiment Station. And I've been with the Arizona Experiment Station starting in 2018. I started at the University of Arizona to go to school in 2006. And the only reason that I bring that up is that that's still not halfway through Bert's tenure here at the Yuma Ag Center. And so I can say my time has been brief, but heavily impacted by the overlap with Bert. And that's coming from Tucson. So not on the ground here as much as I would like, but every time remote, Bert coming to Tucson, me coming here, it's always been very meaningful and not lost on me. One of my fondest memories, I would say, is the first tour I did out here at Yak with Bert. And we were gonna go from here to the Mesa farm. And it's like, okay, sounds great. We pile in the truck and take off around stop signs, around parked cars, honking at people, and just this the whole time. And it was eye-opening for me because I think in reality it presents a contrast that is Bert. If ever there was a representation of the idea of speak softly but carry a big stick, that would be Bert. And I didn't know that when I stepped in the vehicle that day, but I do now. And so coming out here, even again, just doing another tour and walk around with Bert this morning, I'm consistently impressed at just the level of dedication that's apparent. There's a reason that we're all here. So that's what you see up front, is that commitment, that dedication, and the progress that's been made here over the years. And it's not just to the experiment station, it's not just to the University of Arizona, it's all of you. When we talk about the mission of the experiment station and the University of Arizona, none of those things are important. It's the people of Arizona and the folks that we all serve and that we work with. And that's not lost on Bert. It's the truest representation. And so, one of the conversations we have a lot is, well, we can do a lot of good things, but also we don't have that much in the way of resources. I'm not going to get into that. When it comes to ingenuity, just making things work, there's nobody better. And I think this building that we're all sitting is a testament to all of that. So I'll wrap up by saying this and just reiterating that my time spent working with yourself, Bert, has been too brief. So this is a very bittersweet day for all of us, I'm sure. We wish you well in the future. But brief, but very, very impactful. That what you've done here resonates across the state, and you've led by example. And so as far as a legacy, there's a lot that you can stand on, a lot to be proud of, and we owe you a lot. So all the best. Thank you to everybody for being here, and take care, Bert.
Okay, so now we're going to invite Mitch McLaren. He is a professor of range management, and he is the former AES director that has something special for Bert.
Thanks, Samuel. Let's see if I can do this without choking up. This is an important day. It's appropriate that we're in this building. Bert built this building a couple years ago, pretty much single-handedly. I didn't know anything about it, right? I didn't know anything about this. All right, so I would say a couple things. At the university, we often celebrate commencement, where a student finishes 4 years or a graduate degree, and we say commencement is the start of you moving forward. And we think, okay, they put in their time for 4 years. Well, this is a very different kind of commencement. This is Bert's 41 years of teaching us how to do things, not learning from you, but teaching us. And now he's going to start a new chapter. And we hope that you have as much happiness and satisfaction in the chapter that's ahead of you as you can possibly have, because you earned every bit of it. And we really appreciate everything you did for the Ag Center, for the community, and especially everybody that's worked here at the Ag Center. So if you would do me a favor, if anybody's worked for Bert, would you please stand up so that we can recognize all the people in the room that have worked for Bert through the years. To a person, the dedication that they show you is because of the respect that you show them, and thank you for doing all of that. So now I'm going to try to read something that's on a plaque that we're going to give to Bert. And first I'll give Bert the plaque and let you hold it, and I will read what's on the plaque. In honor of Humberto G. Hernandez, with deepest appreciation for 41 years of dedicated service to the University of Arizona, Yuma Agricultural Center. I did say 41. In collaboration with Yuma's farming community, Yuma County Cooperative Extension, the University of Arizona Yuma, and the Yuma Center for Excellence in Desert Agriculture, we proudly come together to appreciate, honor, and recognize a lifetime of unwavering commitment, and especially your outstanding contributions to the Yuma Agricultural Center. With great respect and heartfelt thanks, we celebrate not only your professional excellence, but also your spirit, wisdom, mentorship that you've shared with us through the years. May your well-earned retirement be filled with the same joy and fulfillment that you had given to us so generously through the years. You leave behind not just a legacy of service, but a legacy of heart. Thank you, Bert.
I'm not much of a speaker, so just hang in there. I do want to thank everybody for being here. This is really nice. I wasn't expecting this many people, but I'm very, very, very thankful that you guys were able to come and share with me this final day of my existence here at the Yuma Ag Center. I came here when I was 22, and I worked 41 years, like Mitch just said, and it seems like yesterday. Time went by fast. When I first graduated, I had a vision of what's actually happening now, 40 years ago. When I got out of the university, I was looking at the innovation of agriculture, what can be happening, what should be happening. As a young kid, back then, 22, the things that are happening now is things that I had in my head back then. The innovation of how to do things better in agriculture. And unfortunately, it's my time now to retire, but I'm really happy and excited for those who are going to be staying behind me, that the opportunities are great, the challenges are there. For those who are going to be here still working, kudos to you guys. You guys are in the perfect timing for going forward and resolving issues that agricultural farmers have. Some of the folks are here. I'm really thankful they're here today, but there's always problems out there happening on a daily basis. It's been a long time, and issues evolve on a daily basis, whether it's an insect, or it's a new piece of equipment, a different way of doing something. It's just a learning time sequence that just does not stop. And lately, we've been having a lot of issues, through the systems, things happen. but they're all challenges, and they're all opportunities, and that's how I look at them. You know, we've had our ups and downs through the years, you know, working for a university, an experimental station. There's a lot of issues that go on. And research is beautiful when you can dedicate yourself 100%. When you have to worry about maintaining a research center, then it becomes a little difficult and a little challenging. But, you know, it's a thing to challenge on and go forward and build it better. So I leave this, my legacy for those who are going to stay here, especially Samuel. I don't know where he's at, but he has a full hand at his own board. I'm just happy that he's enjoying it, I think, and I hope that he is. But he'll do great. I'm very thankful for the support from everybody, and I did this with love. I woke up every morning. I didn't ever use a stopwatch. I didn't use an alarm to get up in the morning, ever, for 41 years. I was ready on the dot. Never came late to work, Monday through Friday. Never had a day off. So I was very thankful and very glad to come to work every day of my life. It was just a passion for me. And for those who are still here, you'll enjoy it. Time flies. It seems like yesterday when I first started to work here. I'm very fortunate today. I have 4 of my bosses here. One of them was going to be here, couldn't make it, but these are just great people that I've worked for. So I've enjoyed my job. They delegated the authority on me, and they trusted me, I guess. I don't know. But I'm happy. I'm happy that I was able to get this 41 years, that I was able to pay the university back what the university did for me. Because as a migrant a kid back then, you're trying to go to the university, it's not easy. You know, I went to the university based on tuition waivers with my grades, things like that. You know, it was really hard, but we did it. Albert actually was my roommate when we were living at Tucson. It was 2 young kids, you know, 18-year-olds. We took a 35-foot trailer up to Tucson, and that's where we lived, as cheap as possible. So that's why when I hear students that they don't want to go to school because they don't have money or something, there's a way. Look for it and make it happen. So I encourage those that are beginning their careers or are currently right now with U of A Yuma, go forward. You know, it's worth every penny of it. Get a degree. It helps. It opens doors. And I'm just very thankful that the university was able to give me that opportunity. I'm thankful that I was able to serve an area that I always was wanting to be in. My first choice wasn't actually doing what I did. It was more I wanted to be a veterinarian. But the university didn't have a veterinarian school back then, the U of A. So I ended up in agronomy major, and that's how I got started. So as a kid, you know, I lived in San Luis, Arizona. I traveled every day to Cofa, and all I could see out the windows was farmland, agricultural. And I said, someday I'll be out there. I'll be out there doing some of that work. And thankfully, I was able to, and I'm very happy about it. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here, celebrating this day, and I'm just full of joy to have you guys all here with me.
Thank you, Bert. Really, thank you so much for everything you have done. You have been very influential in my career, and you have done so much for this place. You have literally built this place with your hands. All the things that you have done, this building, the exterior of the Glen Curtis building, the greenhouses, all the projects that you have done are incredible and are a testament of your passion, your dedication, and how resourceful you are. Because I know the guys from the farm, they knew that when you wanted to do something, you were going to find a way to do it. Like, they knew that cuando se engrana Humberto en algo, lo va a sacar adelante. Like, you would not stop until you get it done. And like when you were doing the optic fiber with Alvo, like you did not stop until you got it done. And you gave us a great example on not to give up, even though the task at hand might be difficult. Like, you're not an engineer, but you figure it out. You're not an electrician, but you did it. You're not a plumber, but you did all of that. Like, you're a MacGyver. The things that you have done are just incredible. Like, I don't think there's one thing that you cannot do around this farm, and you have done every conceivable job here at the Yuma Ag Center, which is incredible. This place wouldn't be the same without you, without everything that you have done, all your dedication and hard work. So you're leaving us with a great example of a can-do attitude, and there's always a way. There's always a solution to the problem, no matter how hard it might look like. You can always get it done. So thank you so much. Thank you for what you have done, Bert. And now I would like to give a special award to someone very special to you, Bert, and that has let us work with you for 41 years. Your wife, Virginia. So now we're just going to leave an open mic for anybody that might want to give any words to Bert, that might want to say something. I know there's some old timers here that might have some things to say about Bert.
Not an old timer yet, Sam, but I mean, I started in '89. Bert started in '84, so we're almost there. Bert, I just want to thank you for all you have done for the Yuma Ag Center, the Mesa. If many of us that have been here for almost this long, we know that Bert did not only this building here, but there's another shop on the Mesa that he did. The shop across that was also built by Bert, and that old shade structure, I think that was one of the first ones, the greenhouses. So he's done a lot. There was one summer that my son was working here, and he was helping Bert building that greenhouse that was donated by a doctor here in the community. And he got home and he said, "Dad, Bert, he didn't let us take lunch today." I told him, no. See, Bert will let you take lunch, but you gotta remind him, because he only has 2 gears: fast, faster. So you gotta, tomorrow let him know, that it's almost lunchtime, and he'll say, "Okay, let's go to lunch." But if you don't remind him, you guys are gonna straight on go work the 8 hours, and that's it. So Bert, thank you. On behalf of Plant Pathology Department, we got you a nice cyst here for your trips. Keep all those cold sodas and waters.
Hello everyone, my name is Ernie Lugo with the Arizona Department of Agriculture. I too want to say thank you, Bert, for everything you did for us. You were always that type of person that, just an example, when the room wasn't available, you always had an alternative, not just say no. How about this day, would that work? Or we have a whole bunch of beds we can move up in the Mesa and you can put chairs there and do your training. You always did that. We call you the department the surplus king. Bert would always, take advantage all over the state to bring machinery, sometimes interesting stuff. I know Bellotti, our inspector, Alex Bellotti, Was always interested in checking out the military stuff you had out there and asking questions about that up in the County 15 farm. But we noticed that, you know, stuff needed to get done or equipment needed to be brought in, and you found it and made it work. So, you know, you always were a great example to others. Te iba a pedir permiso para contar la historia cuando te escapaste de la escuela. Well, you know, Bert is so persistent that, how old were you, Bert? Grade school, like second grade maybe?
No, I was in kindergarten.
Oh my God. Let me try and tell the story. We speak about Bert does what needs to be done. He does what needs to be done, and if he thinks he needs to do it, he'll do it. Well, when he was in kindergarten one day, he thought it was time to go home. Was this Rancho Viejo?
Yeah.
Rancho Viejo there on Avenue C and near Avenue C and near 8th Street. Was it you and your brother or just you?
Me and my brother, he was a year younger than me.
So Bert was a leader, as he's always been. He left the campus without anyone knowing. Imagine that nowadays. What a big deal that would be. And he started walking on Avenue C. How far did you get, Bert?
I think I made it to County 11.
Can you imagine that? So all the way to County 11th because he thought it was time to go. And that's just Bert's legacy. You know, with any project, it's time to go. He's going to do it. He's going to take care of it. He showed us all that he can take care of it. Whatever, you know, you guys heard the different stories. Whatever projects needed to be done, he made it work with whatever. You know, it's like, Bert, where'd you buy all this kitchen equipment? Oh, it was surplus from whatever and industrial kitchen stuff and what, you know, it was always amazing to see how well he made it work. Bert obviously loves farmland. He loves to make sure that everything was ready for those that needed to use this farm. He's a great steward of, if you guys don't know, this is an old homestead for the Johansson family. They arrived in this area in the late 1800s. He met some of those folks and then other members of the pioneer community here. And he always took care of the land. He always made sure that, you know, after planning and doing whatever, that, you know, it was better than how they found it on that season. So Bert, on behalf of the Department of Agriculture, our director, Paul Barley, we want to say thank you. Thank you for everything you did for us.
A lot of new people here. Many people don't know me, but I'm Charles Sanchez, and I served as the director of this station for 15 years. And most of my time here, Bert and I served together. Now, he was here before me, and I accepted a position, and I inherited Bert from my predecessor, Dr. Brian Gardner. And I didn't know him, and I didn't certainly know at the time that, metaphorically, I had won the lottery. So I kind of made some mentions of some things we didn't have here, and I was still in Florida, wrapping up my job there as associate professor, and I mentioned, well, we don't have coolers for produce. I need coolers because I work with produce. I don't have greenhouses. By the time he got here, Bert, somehow with no money, had found those things for me. Through surplus, he had built me coolers and freezers. He had went to Waddell and took down some greenhouses, and there was greenhouses here, and that was just the beginning. Now, we have new greenhouses here, and we've abandoned those, but then again, Bert built those greenhouses. Him and I wrote a grant, we got the money, and he took a crew out there and built that whole greenhouse complex we have out there. And we can go on and on. I can move forward a few years, and Bert, I encouraged him to apply for farm manager. I'm not saying it was my idea. I'm sure he was interested himself, but I thought he was an ideal match because there was always tension between the production wing of these farms and the research wing. The production people like to just grow. The research people had unique needs. And the tension was both their fault. The production people didn't understand why we had to replicate, how we had to estimate error. The research people sometimes made unreasonable requests. I remember one of the researchers asked us to laser level his plots, but don't move any dirt. Imagine that, laser level and not moving dirt. That's the kind of stress you had between researchers, and And Bert was ideal as our farm manager because he was a researcher and he was a farmer. The meager salary we paid him as a technician didn't pay the bill, so he did custom farming to augment that meager salary. So he became farm manager. Well, a few years after that, the director, who was the director of both Maricopa and Yuma, retired. And they decided the Yuma had to go on their own. And I was encouraged to apply to be director. And I interviewed and got the job, and all of a sudden, Bert and I were partners again. And we spent 15 years working together to make this place better. But most of it was his innovation, his resourcefulness that improved this place. They mentioned the greenhouses and this shed and the shop and other things. But Bert was a key catalyst for the Glenn Curtis building. And I'll tell you specifically how. We all cramped in these old dilapidated buildings you see here. Dr. Palumbo, Mike Matheron, or the few on the Mesa, Glenn Wright. And they talked about a new building someday, but it seemed like a distant dream. And Humberto came to me one day, they talked about the federal surplus. Bert said, there's this building up on the Nevada test site in Area 51, and the Department of Energy just vacated it, and we can go get it. And I looked at the paperwork, and I didn't know what was in these old buildings. Maybe it was cadavers of aliens or whatever. I didn't need to know. I didn't want to know that the prospect that the aforementioned was true. But I went to Colin and says, Bert says we can get these buildings. And Colin always said what he meant and meant what he said. He says, let me consider it. And he ran it by some potential donors, and they said, go get those buildings. Well, they didn't allocate no money or nothing, but Humberto pulls a couple of irrigators here, a tractor driver there, a mechanic, and he went back to the Nevada test site several weeks in a row with a crew, whatever he could pull from our farm without disrupting the operations, and they dismantled that building. And they brought it here, and they piled it up. And Colin used to come see us very often. He was a hands-on vice dean for research, and he came, and he said, that pile there's the building? And Bert says, yes, that's the building. And if we don't at least erect the frame, in 5 years we'll be hauling it to the landfill. And Colin said, okay, you're probably right. So Colin went, and he came back, and somehow they found the money to erect the frame. There was no money to build the building yet. Eventually, that frame was erected, and that was there for 2 or 3 years, and with time, it became a testimony to an unfulfilled promise. So Dean deployed the development office, and they started raising money, and they got the money, and they began to develop the building. But part of these deals included contracting with a service within the university to manage your contractors. And we had to pay for that. And they weren't doing their job. Humberto was seeing things go off spec. He was seeing countertops that were not the ones that the designs called for. So he ended up being, by default, the manager to manage construction of that building. And it finally was finished, and Colin recognized that, and that's why they hang that plaque outside the break room. Because by default, on top of all his other duties, he became the manager for that construction project. And it didn't end there. That building was completed right before the Great Recession. Construction costs, materials were very high, we were way over budget. Colin came to me and says, I know we're gonna have our grand opening, but we do not have any money for landscaping. I went to Humberto and says, we won't be able to do any landscaping. He says, like hell we won't. He says, if you can find $4,000, I'll landscape that building. So he went and dug up palm trees from our Mesa farm. He went and bartered with local nurseries for discounts. He bartered for gravel, and he did all the landscaping himself. So these are just some random things. There were a small amount of the things where he's selfishly embraced and solved problems simply by being resourceful. So I just want to end on one note. The university has lots of challenges. Samuel noted them, others noted them. We look around, we see a lack of resources, we see a lack of money, and sometimes we dare to dream that maybe things could be different. And that's good. It's good to identify your challenges, and it's good to dream that things could be better. But I think it's also worthwhile to consider how much worse things could be if we didn't have people like Humberto Hernandez and just relentlessly address challenges that you had and made your working environment so much better. So I'm very grateful to Humberto who served as my technician, my farm manager, my superintendent, and as a director, he helped my research, and I salute you for all you've done as director since I stepped away from administration, and I wish you the best of luck in your retirement.
Hi, I'm Glenn Wright. I'm the citrus and date palm specialist, and I've only been here for a minuscule 33 years, but it's a pleasure to be here and to salute you. For the first few years of my career, I was up at the Mesa farm, and I would say I didn't really quite understand the influence that Bert had at the time when I was up there, but as I grew in my career, I learned to see that. He is, of course, many things that have already been mentioned. I will probably mention it again, but he is a consummate farmer. I do believe in his heart of hearts he likes citrus better than anything else. I think that in my case, many of the things that you've already mentioned were the same. I have a shop up there because Bert built it. I wrote a grant one time for a screen house. Of course, the USDA says you can't have a new screen house. And I said, Bert, what am I going to do? I need to have a screen house. He says, well, we have all these parts. So we didn't actually build a screen house. We just renovated the parts we already happened to have, which happened to be horizontal, and suddenly they were vertical. That's how we ended up getting around that stipulation. I would say, Bert, if Tim Allen ever needed a replacement on Home Improvement show, you would probably be it. Yeah. Not as the actor, but as the real thing. For sure. And the other thing I would say, just you probably never realize, is I teach a date and citrus class. And it's very easy when my students say, well, we don't know what the difference between a medjool and a deglet nor is. Well, you go to the front of the building, and that's the medjools. And you go to the back of the building, and that's the deglet nors, because he put them there, and it's very easy for me to teach the difference because they're on one side of the building or the other. So what I would say, Bert, is thank you for everything. There's more things that could be said, but we don't have enough time in the day. It's been a pleasure working with you. Have a good time on that cruise, whatever it is you're going to do, because you roundly and richly deserve it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Silvertooth, and I don't want to be too redundant and just echo things that everybody has said before, but I do want to congratulate Bert and offer just a few comments and perspective. They offered time for some old timers up here, so I felt compelled to come forward and join the crowd. I came here in 1987. This is my 39th year in Arizona. And when I arrived here, Dr. Brian Gardner was working in a position that Dr. Charlie Sanchez ultimately acquired in 91. And Bert was working with Brian Gardner at that time here. So I met Bert early on, back in 87, and began working on here on the station and working across the state. This is working at all the experiment stations across the state, working out on Cooperator's fields. I learned right away that the resourcefulness in Yuma was always going to begin with guys like Bert. And there was Tony Tejas and a number of others around at the time, kind of a young cadre coming through. And I think if there's one thing we would take away from our conversations today, and the one word would be about Humberto would be resourcefulness. And it was apparent even back in the 80s. If we needed to get something done on the station, we needed to find things. He was working for Dr. Sanchez those years. We go to Humberto and find out where do we get this? How do we get this done? Always resourceful and always helping us. That was true all the way through all steps of my career, as Bert went through all the steps of his career. And ultimately, around 2012, we began working very closely together as I was serving as the Dean and Director for Cooperative Extension, and I actually had responsibilities with the Experiment Station Director for Yuma, Maricopa, and Safford, having had experiences working with each of them. And so Humberto and I and the team with Angie and Ruben Gonzalez, we were all working together here with a lot of challenges that we faced. And it was reminiscent at the time that I had confidence that we could address these challenges in Yuma, and we could come together and figure it out because of the resourcefulness that I had seen from Humberto all those years. So like they've mentioned the greenhouses. I remember being down here before and Sanchez and people would say, well, we're going to build some greenhouses. How are you going to do that? Humberto was going to do it. And how are you going to do that? Well, Humberto was going to do it. He came on later on when Charlie was the director of the station here, and I was coming out here and he said, well, we need a new building, and I knew what the budgets were like. We didn't have any funding. Well, we're going to get a new building. How are you going to do that? Well, Humberto's, we've got this building frame up in District 51 up in Nevada at the military site. So how are you going to get it down here? Humberto's going to do it. Sure enough, that summer coming down here, there's truckloads are going back and forth with Humberto and the crew here from the Yuma Ag Center, and they did it. And they erected it, as you've heard the stories being told. It was the same thing when I was working with Humberto and Angie and Ruben and the others here. During those about 10 years working here with the experiment station, we had a lot of budget challenges. And we had to redo a lot of the way things had been done before. And it was always the resourcefulness and the commitment. And I always say in leadership positions, and when Humberto stepped into the leadership position here, it became apparent. In leadership positions, there's always two things that become apparent: character and commitment. Whatever your character is, it's going to get revealed. You can say who you are, you can say what you believe, you can say what your convictions are, but it's going to be a revelation, and your commitment's going to be revealed. I think what we've heard from the testimony today, there's both character and commitment that Humberto has demonstrated for 41 years. That's something to be commended and be recognized. You think of the character, I think it's a humanistic trait, but it's amazingly arithmetic. I think character is a function of your convictions and your discipline to carry them out. We can have our convictions and say we have one thing we believe in, but if you don't have the discipline to carry them through, we see that's a revelation of that type of character. And what I've seen in my experience, and I think you heard from the testimony here today, the character that Humberto Hernandez has demonstrated is that he has his convictions, he has the discipline, and he follows through. And those are the things that I find as admirable characters in a person. And so I want to say it's been a pleasure at all steps of my career working with Humberto. It was particularly a pleasure working with Humberto and our team here with Angie and Ruben and the others on the station for those 10 years that I was in that capacity. We worked through a lot of challenges together, and I always had confidence that we could pull it out. There was a lot of times I have to say, Humberto was saying, oh, this week we can't do it. This is too weak. I don't know what we're going to do. But they always figured it out, and I always had confidence that they would. So I commend you, and I thank you, and I congratulate you on 41 years of success, and I wish you the best in the future. Have fun, work hard, and I know you'll do a good time. So best wishes. Thank you.
He's kind to everybody, and so you want to be a part of Bert's team. You want to help make his goals happen. And so I just need to say, Bert, we love the way that you treat us. You're genuinely one of the kindest people. I work with the Cooperative Extension, specifically with the 4-H program, and we have some incredible ideas. Unfortunately, we're not able to complete or execute any of them without Humberto. So a lot of times, like Marlena and Tracy and I would get in the truck and we'd come to the farm and we're here to see Bert, and he never took off running when he would see us. And no matter what, we were always, Bert, can you help us with the field day? Bert, can you help us with, we always needed his help, and never ever did he. Sometimes he would, try to shift our focus instead of saying that's not going to work. Have you thought about this? And he never tells anybody no. He wants to help. And so, especially as a person in Cooperative Extension, Jeff had mentioned that Yuma is a really special place. Most counties that you go to, they work in silos. And so Extension and Experiment Station and academics work very separately. I really feel like in large part Yuma is the special place that it is because of Humberto. Extension is here. Extension is really excited to be a part of all the cool things that are happening here. We have done hundreds and hundreds of field days. Our local school teachers get one field trip. They have access to school buses one time a year. And we have hundreds and hundreds of teachers who they want their one field trip of a year to come to the farm, and Bert makes that happen. We've done this a bunch, and we never leave here without learning something. So I just want to talk about one particular, field day. It was probably 20 years ago, and it was a group of special needs students, and there was a young man who was nonverbal. All of his teachers and all of his aides, they just kind of said, oh, no, he's fine, he's having a good time. And Humberto had a tractor out. There was very few kids. There was 8 or 9 kids and probably 8 or 9 adults. And he said, hey, you guys can sit in the tractor. And everybody sort of counted this young man out because he didn't seem to be engaged. We turned around. Humberto had that young man on the tractor. It gives me goosebumps. The kid was elated. I mean, the teachers were almost in tears. It was the coolest thing. And again, it goes back to how he treats people. And everybody's important and everybody matters to him. We turned the corner on that same field day and Humberto says, hey, do you guys want to have a Yuma snow fight? The rest of us weren't sure what he was talking about, but they had just cut a bunch of cotton. And so there was cotton scraps all over. And those kids jumped out, they were throwing it. I bet those kids still talk about that. And so again, it just, in extension, we're really worried about what we're gonna do with Uganda. Watch out, Sam, we're gonna start coming and visiting you. But we really, really appreciate all that you have brought, not just to the farm, but to Cooperative Extension. And on behalf of our ag program, FCHS, 4-H, and our urban hort, we thank you for always being a gentleman, for always including us, and just for being the incredible human being that you are. So, thank you.
Okay, so I have someone that couldn't be here sent a note to John, and he also had a gift, which I think the gift will come later, but I'm just going to read what this person sent. Dear Humberto Hernandez, I want to express my sincere gratitude and heartfelt thanks for everything you have done for me since my first day at Jack last June 2024. Your support, kindness, and generosity have meant so much to me, and I deeply appreciate all the guidance and wisdom you have shared. It has truly shaped my path in Yuma. I am truly sorry I couldn't be here in person. I'm currently in Chicago for family purposes, but please know that I am thinking of you and wishing you all the best in your retirement. Thank you also for everything you've done for Jack over the years. Your dedication has made a lasting impact, and working alongside you has been an honor. Ali Mohammed. So, I also wanted to make another announcement. So, those centerpieces, you're welcome to take home. And also, thank you for the master gardeners for putting them together. Not everything comes from the farm, but the wheat, the artichokes, and some of the corn flowers are from the farm.